back here in Chandler with lovely Linda.
Hello.
Last couple times we were out here, about a year ago, I helped Linda replace her lantana in the front yard with some drift roses. She also potted some drift roses in some pots as well. So I believe that was in November or so of last year. So they've had about a year, more than a year, to really grow in and see how they're doing. So great time to check up on Linda here. She has not trimmed these back for the winter, so we can really see how they performed. And hopefully Linda watches my how to prune a drift rose video and trims them back nice and good for the winter, and they come back in the spring. So Linda, how have these been doing for you?
These roses are very hardy and I'm very, very happy with them. Even during the cold snap that we had frost on the ground and it was freezing. I did not do anything with this rose. And it has far exceeded what I expected to get from this rose.
Yep, so this one's in a pot here. It's looking really good.
Yep.
Even the ones in the front that we did in ground, those were not affected by the frost as well?
No. They're out there and exposed. These might have a little protection here, but I did not do anything with any of them with the cold weather.
Yep, and that's
very hardy.
That's pretty typical, I think, for a lot of my roses. I never do anything to winterize it except cut them back at the appropriate time. So I'm really happy looking at this rose here. So clearly it made it through the summer. Which is the hardest part to get our roses to live through. So how was your experience with the roses through the summer?
In the beginning, just adjusting the water, making sure they have enough, and then once I had it adjusted, I didn't do anything except feed them.
Okay.
Feed the roses, and then I was spraying just to make sure I don't have any pests on them, and that was all I was doing. And that was it.
Yeah.
Very low maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And so did yours bloom throughout the entire summer, or did they take a break when it got really hot?
I still had some blooms, but nothing like this when it was real hot.
Yeah.
It was, I guess you could say it was more sparse.
Yes.
In the blooms.
But they did bloom a little bit for you.
Yes, I did have blooms, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think the drift roses, they're really hardy roses, so they do tend to bloom even when it's super hot, even if they're not as prolific. So that is why I really, really like this rose. I really do suggest it if you're looking for a replacement to a lantana, or even in a box or a pot. I think they look great. They are kind of like a ground cover type rose, so they really try and spread out. They keep a good shape. They keep nice and compact. Linda, have you trimmed or done anything?
I have not. I have not even cut off any of the dead ones. I have done nothing as far as pruning it. And I will watch your video because I know you're mentioning it's time for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to watch that, and then as hard as it might be, like you said, I'm going to go ahead and prune it because I want to get ready for the spring, because I think this next year I will even have more flowers on it.
Okay, well, we had a bird land on the camera and stop recording. So I believe we were just talking about pruning and how much pruning, or rather how much not pruning, we need to do with this rose. So basically what Linda's saying is this rose looks really good. All the leaves look very healthy. She hasn't done any deadheading on this, and nor has she had to prune it up, and it still keeps its shape, its nice little compact shape, which is why I like this type of rose.
But I wasn't too sure about it being in a pot, how well it was going to do. So it has far exceeded what I expected because of the way it's flowing over the sides and it's in a pot. Very, very happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is kind of what I was envisioning when I recommended to put this in a pot, so that we could get that kind of really nice drooping over the sides look. So we will take a look at these ones in the pots as well as the ones we planted in ground, and we'll kind of go over specifically how Linda watered and if she fertilized or kind of what she did to get these looking the way she's got them. So we'll take a look.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have one of Linda's drift roses in a pot. This one is actually the peach drift rose. It's in a fiberglass pot, and I think with the cooler weather, it's actually kind of darkening, so it's getting a little more pink than peach, which is pretty typical for roses. They do tend to change color based on the weather. You can kind of see that's a little more peach here. So like Linda said, she hasn't pruned, trimmed, or done any deadheading on this, and it looks very nice, full, good growth pattern. Okay. So you can see back here, Linda does have this little pot on a drip. It's a 2 gallon per hour drip that she can kind of increase or decrease as the weather permits. Right now she's watering twice a week for 20 minutes here in the winter, and in the summer it was increased to every day for 30 minutes. So this rose here, she just planted in fall. This one, the original drift rose that she planted in this pot in November didn't make it. This pot was harboring some insects and they kind of killed it, and we lost the rose in summer, probably when it was kind of stressed out from the heat. So this one looks good. It's free of bugs, so it should fill in and in a year's time look as good as its neighbors. So here we've got an additional 2 peach roses in pots. Linda was enjoying her other drift roses in the pot so much she decided to plant these in May, last May. That's not the best time, in my opinion, to plant roses, as it's coming on to like summer, which is the harshest climate here in Phoenix. But she kept her eye on them and made sure they were getting the right water. These guys are on the same drip system as the 2 in the back and getting the same water, and they made it through and they look really good. So these have not hit their year mark yet, but they're blooming and starting to fill in really well. Because they're not a year old yet, you might be doing a light prune on some of these, but I wouldn't do too hard of a cutback on these. You can also tell which one gets a little bit more sun. The one with more blooms but less foliage is in the sun a bit more. This one gets western sun. Still doing really well here. Linda does think that this probably gets about 4, maybe 6 hours of sun depending on the year, and it looks pretty good. So with this getting some afternoon sun as expected, it is a little harsher on the plant, so we've got a little bit of dieback and some stuff that we just need to trim up and get out of here. No big deal. We can just do a quick trim on this and it should fill in and look nice for the upcoming bloom season. So here we have a popcorn drift rose. This is the one we planted on camera with Linda. We removed a lantana and planted this in its place. It's been getting more or less the same water. It's on the same drip irrigation system as all the other roses she's got, and I think it looks really great. It's got a good shape. It's starting to fill in nicely after the year mark, and it's covered in blooms. So you can see here with the cooler temperatures, it's kind of got more of like a peach look to it. However, in the summer or in the warmer temperatures, this is a yellow rose fading to white, making it look like the popcorn. But foliage is looking good on it. Clusters of blooms are still coming in. Now, since this one is over the year mark, I will suggest that Linda prune this. That way we can kind of promote growth for the upcoming spring season and get some of the old foliage off and allow this rose to fill in a little bit better. This is the neighbor rose. This was in the other location where we removed a lantana and planted this rose. This one you can see probably gets a bit more afternoon sun than the previous rose, but it still looks pretty good. It still looks pretty healthy. Just giving it more time to fill in and establish, it'll probably look a bit more like its neighbor. Still blooming, still has new buds and clusters. So I think both of these look, personally, I think they look a lot better than the lantana that were here before. And as Linda said, these didn't require any pruning. She has never pruned these. They don't require any deadheading, and they really keep their shape, and then they bloom quite nice. And the watering is more or less the same on this drip system. So like a lot of people in Arizona or the Phoenix area, Linda does have a landscaper, and I did tell her not to let the landscaper touch these. So these have not been touched by a landscaper or really hardly Linda herself at all, but just to fertilize and really just enjoy the nice blooms. So I think this experiment went pretty well for Linda, and she's super happy with her roses. So I do think if you'd like to give these a try, they're a really nice, maintenance-free, hardy, prolific rose.